The Galactic Council had always seen Earth as a planet of no consequence. For centuries, they'd watched humanity from the depths of space, too primitive and disorganized to be of any real concern. The Council was made up of species so old and powerful that they believed they had seen it all. But Earth was different. Humanity, like an untamed force, was advancing faster than any species in the galaxy had ever predicted. As Earth reached new heights in technology, the Galactic Council finally took notice. Their once dismissive attitude toward humanity began to change. At first, they debated whether the humans should be allowed to join the galactic community, but soon they realized they had no choice. The power of Earth's technology posed a potential threat to the balance of the entire galaxy. There was no room for such a young and unpredictable species to rise to power. If humanity were left unchecked, they could one day challenge the might of the most powerful civilizations in the universe. A meeting was convened in the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council. Leaders from planets across the galaxy gathered, their faces stern and serious. The fate of Earth would be decided in this room, and the Council knew it would not be an easy choice. After much debate, they made a decision. Humanity must be subdued, one way or another. The Council offered a peace agreement, a way for Earth to join the galactic order without a fight. Earth's leaders were invited to speak with representatives of the galaxy, to join the galactic family and contribute to the peace and prosperity of the universe. The message was clear: accept peace or face annihilation. But the Council had underestimated humanity's spirit. When Earth's response came, the Council was not prepared for it. The Earth's leaders did not accept the offer. In fact, they rejected it completely. The rejection was a cold, calculated move that shocked the alien leaders in the council room. How could humanity, a species so young and so unrefined, turn down such an opportunity? They had expected Earth's leaders to fall in line with the rest of the galaxy, to bow to the wisdom and authority of the older civilizations. But instead, the message from Earth was blunt and defiant. We do not need your peace. We do not need your permission to exist. The council was stunned. For a moment, there was silence. The alien representatives exchanged glances, each of them trying to comprehend what had just happened. They had never experienced a species that would outright reject their offer of peace. How could a race so young, so fragile, dare to challenge the might of the Galactic Council? The leaders of the Galactic Council were not used to hearing no. They were not used to being disrespected, especially by a species that had only just learned to travel to their moon. But now, the human response was out in the open, and there was no turning back. What do we do now? One of the alien leaders asked, his voice low and filled with doubt. He had never seen anything like this before. The Council had always been able to control the outcome of every situation, every species, every conflict. But this time, humanity had thrown everything into chaos. As the meeting continued, the tone shifted from disbelief to anger. The leaders of the Galactic Council began to speak of Earth's rejection with growing irritation. How dare they refuse an invitation to join the galactic family? How dare they think they could exist outside of the galaxy's laws and boundaries? It was unthinkable. And yet, Earth's rejection was only the beginning. The Council knew what they had to do now. Earth had to be crushed. Their technology, their growth, their potential, it all had to be stopped before it grew too powerful. A new plan was set into motion, an invasion of Earth. A fleet would be assembled, and Earth would be brought to its knees. The galactic forces would not tolerate this defiance. Earth would learn what happened to those who rejected the peace of the galaxy. But as the Council prepared for war, there was one thing they did not know. Earth, with all its flaws and imperfections, was not the weak and primitive species they believed it to be. For years, humans had been preparing for this moment, building their defenses, their strength, and their resolve. Dr. Elena Pierce, a top scientist and strategist, had been working tirelessly in secret to ensure that humanity would never fall victim to a power greater than its own. While the Council scrambled to prepare for their attack, the human leaders were already planning their next move. They weren't going to bow down. They weren't going to join the galaxy's hierarchy. They were going to fight for their freedom, no matter the cost. And the Galactic Council had no idea what was coming. The story had just begun. After humanity's shocking rejection, the Galactic Council found itself in a state of turmoil. The leaders of the galaxy, who had never faced such direct opposition, were left to deal with an unprecedented crisis. Their once unchallenged power was now in question. For centuries, the Council had been the supreme authority in the galaxy, and to have a species as young and unrefined as humanity stand against them was a blow to their pride. In the heart of the Council's headquarters, an emergency meeting was called. The chamber was filled with alien leaders from every corner of the galaxy, their faces grim and filled with anger. The stakes had never been higher, and there was no time to waste. Earth had rejected their peace offer, and now the Council had to respond. "We cannot allow this insolence to go unanswered," said one of the most influential figures in the Council, a towering figure from the Vethiri species. His energy-based form hummed with power as he spoke. "This is a challenge to the very foundation of our order. If we allow Earth to defy us, what will stop other species from doing the same?" Whispers of agreement spread through the room, each leader echoing the sentiment that Earth had crossed a line. The idea of war was no longer just a theory. It was now the only option. The Council's defense fleets had already been mobilized, but what they were about to face was unlike anything they had ever encountered. This wouldn't be a simple invasion. No, Earth had shown that it would not go down quietly. They would fight back. The leaders discussed their plans in hushed tones, weighing their options carefully. They knew that Earth's rejection was not just a political statement, it was a declaration of war. The message had been clear. Humanity would not bow to the galaxy's laws, and they would not join the Galactic Order. This act of defiance demanded retaliation. Back on Earth, the mood was far different. Despite the Council's growing threats, the human spirit had never been stronger. While many around the world feared the looming invasion, the leaders of Earth were already preparing. They knew what was coming. They knew the galaxy was preparing to strike. Dr. Elena Pierce, the brilliant scientist who had been leading the charge behind Earth's secret preparations, stood before a vast array of monitors. The data she had collected was disturbing. The Council wasn't just sending a small fleet. They were preparing an armada, one that could easily overwhelm Earth's defenses if given the chance. But Dr. Pierce wasn't worried. Not yet. Earth had a secret weapon, one that no one else knew about, and it was time to bring it to the forefront. For years, Dr. Pierce and her team had worked tirelessly, developing a plan so advanced that even the most sophisticated alien technologies would be caught off guard. It was humanity's last hope, but there was still much to do. Earth's defense systems were not ready for a full-scale war. The secret weapon was still in its final stages of development, and the clock was ticking. Humanity had no time to waste. Meanwhile, General Marcus, the leader of Earth's defense force, gathered his officers. The gravity of the situation was not lost on him. He knew the Council was powerful, but he also knew one thing. Humanity had something they didn't: the will to fight, the will to survive, and that would make all the difference. "We may be outgunned, but we are not outmatched," General Marcus said, his voice steady but filled with determination. "The Council may have their fleets, their weapons, their ancient technologies, but we have something more powerful than any of that. We have the human spirit, and we will make them regret underestimating us." The room was silent for a moment as every officer present absorbed his words. It was a cold, hard reality. Earth was on the brink of war, but they were ready. The human race had never been one to back down from a fight, and they weren't about to start now. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, the leaders were finalizing their invasion plans. The fleets were being assembled, their weapons primed for action. The invasion was set to begin in a matter of days. The Council had made their decision. Earth would be destroyed, no matter the cost. But the Council underestimated the strength of a species that had survived against all odds. Earth wasn't going down without a fight, and the stakes had never been higher. The countdown to war had begun, and neither side would be willing to back down. As the first alien ships began to leave their homeworlds, heading toward Earth, a wave of tension washed over the galaxy. The invasion had begun. The battle for Earth's survival would be fought in the stars, and neither side could predict what the outcome would be. As the vast fleets of the Galactic Council advanced toward Earth, the tension in the atmosphere was almost unbearable. The news of the invasion spread across the planet like wildfire. Panic and fear gripped every nation. But amidst the chaos, there was also an undercurrent of defiance. Humanity had rejected the peace offers, and now the fight for survival had begun. Earth's leaders, military strategists, and scientists were working around the clock, with their only goal being to prepare for the impending onslaught. Dr. Elena Pierce's secret weapon, still in development, was humanity's last hope. It was an advanced, energy-based defense system capable of taking down entire fleets in a single strike. The technology was beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen, and it could change the course of the war before it even began. But time was running out. With every passing minute, the enemy forces grew closer, and Earth's defenses were still not fully ready. At the heart of Earth's Defense Command Center, General Marcus paced back and forth, the weight of the situation heavy on his shoulders. The Council's fleets were nearing the edge of Earth's orbit, and every radar station was tracking their movement. The first wave of alien ships was within striking distance. It was only a matter of time before the bombardment began. "We need to buy more time," General Marcus muttered to himself, glancing at the large holographic map of Earth's defenses. He turned to Dr. Pierce, who was overseeing the final stages of the secret weapons activation. How long until it's ready? Dr. Pierce didn't look up from her work. Her face was illuminated by the flickering lights of the terminal screens, her fingers dancing across the controls with an almost frantic precision. At least another hour. We're almost there. The energy core is nearly fully charged, but we need to ensure the stabilization protocols are in place. Any mistake, and we could lose everything. General Marcus gritted his teeth. An hour might as well have been a lifetime. The fleet would reach Earth far sooner than that. But there was no other choice. They had to trust Dr. Pierce and her team. As the minutes ticked by, the air inside the command center grew thick with anticipation. The tension was palpable, not just among the officers and scientists, but among the civilians as well. People were taking shelter in underground bunkers, preparing for the worst. The fate of the entire planet rested on the shoulders of a few, and every moment was critical. In space, the alien fleets began to align themselves for the first strike. Their massive ships hovered over the planet like dark harbingers of doom, ready to unleash their devastating firepower. The Ferrex, insectoid creatures known for their terrifying biological weapons, prepared their swarm ships for an assault. The Xerok, a towering race of brute warriors, readied their massive cannon-equipped warships. And the Vethiri, an energy-based species with weapons that could incinerate entire cities in seconds, brought their destructive potential to bear. The Galactic Council had no doubts that this would be an easy victory. They expected to overwhelm Earth's defenses without breaking a sweat. After all, they had never encountered a species so unprepared for the galaxy's might. Humanity's rejection of peace offers only confirmed their belief that Earth was weak and vulnerable. But they had underestimated one thing: human resilience. No matter how advanced the alien technology was, no matter how overwhelming the enemy seemed, humanity had one trait the aliens could never replicate: the will to survive. As the first wave of alien ships began to fire, Earth's defense systems sprang into action. Thousands of missiles launched from hidden silos, streaking toward the alien fleet with pinpoint precision. Earth's electromagnetic shield flared to life, blocking some of the incoming attacks, but it was still not enough to stop the full force of the assault. The first few blows hit cities across the globe, reducing them to rubble, but Earth's fighters and countermeasures pushed back with all their might. In the command center, General Marcus's heart raced as the first reports came in. Casualties are heavy, one officer reported, but the enemy is slowing down. The shield held longer than expected. Dr. Pierce's voice cut through the chaos. "It's time," she said, her voice steady. She looked up from her work and locked eyes with General Marcus. "We're ready to launch." With a nod, the general ordered the launch. The secret weapon, the culmination of years of research, was finally activated. The ground shook as a massive pulse of energy erupted from Earth's core. The weapon's massive energy beam shot into the sky, splitting the heavens and piercing through the alien fleets. It was a moment of sheer brilliance and terrifying power. The first alien warships were torn apart in the blink of an eye, their massive hulls disintegrating in the energy surge. The Vethiri ships, once impervious to most weapons, were disabled in seconds. The Ferrex swarm ships, too fast and too numerous for conventional weapons, were caught in the pulse and scattered like leaves in a storm. The tide of the battle had shifted. Humanity had done the impossible. It had struck back, and the Council's fleets were faltering. In the heart of the Council's command center, panic spread. The Vethiri leader slammed his fist down on the table. Impossible. How could they have such power? The Xerok, furious at their failure, called for a retreat. We underestimated them. We must regroup. But it was too late. Earth's counteroffensive had begun, and the aliens, who had once seen humanity as nothing more than an insignificant species, were now learning the hard way. Humanity would not be easily defeated. The Galactic Council's invasion had failed before it had even begun. The balance of power in the galaxy was shifting, and for the first time, the universe was realizing that humanity was not a species to be ignored. The tides of war had shifted in humanity's favor, but the fight was far from over. The alien fleets had sustained massive damage, but the Council was not a group to accept defeat easily. They were regrouping, reassessing, and preparing for their next move. Meanwhile, on Earth, the victory had sparked a fire of hope that was quickly spreading across the globe. People who had once lived in fear now held their heads high, rallying around the idea that they could, in fact, win this war. But General Marcus knew better than anyone that the first victory was always the hardest to achieve. The aliens would not stop. They would adapt, learn from their losses, and come back stronger. There was no time to rest on their laurels. Back in the command center, a new wave of urgency had replaced the earlier elation. Dr. Pierce and her team worked tirelessly to maintain the secret weapon's power, ensuring that the energy core didn't overheat and destroy everything they had worked for. The attack had barely made a dent in the alien armada, and their counteroffensive was already on the way. "General," an officer said, her voice tight with tension, "the enemy is regathering. The Zarak and Vathiri fleets are pulling back into formation. They're launching another strike." Marcus clenched his jaw, glaring at the holographic map before him. The aliens were smarter than he had anticipated, and they would not make the same mistake twice. "We need to hold them off long enough to charge the weapon again," he said, his voice low but steady. "How much longer, Dr. Pierce?" She looked up from her terminal, her face pale with exhaustion. "We're running low on energy. The weapon needs at least a few hours to fully recharge. If we fire it prematurely, we risk catastrophic failure." Marcus nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. Earth's defense relied on that weapon, but they could not afford to wait. "Then we fight," he declared, turning to the officers. "Prepare the fleet. We're going to give them everything we've got." The next battle would not be fought with overwhelming firepower. Instead, it would be a battle of tactics, wit, and sheer willpower. Earth's forces had to outsmart the technologically superior alien fleets. As the alien ships closed in on Earth once again, General Marcus knew he was facing an enemy that would stop at nothing to crush humanity. But as he stood before the commanders of Earth's defenses, he felt something stir within him. It was the same feeling that had driven humanity to explore the stars, to discover new frontiers, and to fight for survival. The drive to push forward no matter the odds. "We've beaten them once," Marcus said, his voice growing stronger. "We can do it again. Hold nothing back." As Earth's fighters launched into space, humanity's spirit was undeniable. Every ship, from the smallest fighter to the massive warships, moved with a sense of purpose. They would not give in. They would not surrender. In space, the battle began in earnest. Alien ships descended like a swarm of locusts, launching a barrage of fire that illuminated the darkness of space. Their weapons were powerful, capable of reducing entire cities to ashes in a matter of seconds. But Earth's fighters, though outnumbered, fought with the raw fury of desperation. They dodged and weaved, attacking in unpredictable ways, forcing the aliens to adapt. General Marcus watched from the command center, his heart racing as the first wave of Earth's defense forces collided with the alien fleet. "Focus fire on the Zarak flagship," he ordered. "We take down their command, and the rest will scatter." Dr. Pierce's voice broke in over the comms. "General, the weapon is recharging, but it's not ready. You have to hold out for a little longer." Earth's defense forces pushed back, engaging in dogfights with the alien ships, creating openings for the larger warships to fire upon the Zarak flagship. It was a delicate strategy, a dangerous gamble that relied on humanity's ability to adapt in the face of overwhelming odds. The battle raged on, each side pushing the limits of their technology and strategies. The Zarak flagship, a massive vessel bristling with weapons, was tough to take down, but Earth's forces were relentless. Despite the odds, they pressed forward with an unyielding determination, knowing that victory depended on their unity. Inside the command center, Marcus stood with Dr. Pierce, his eyes glued to the screen showing the progress of the weapons recharging. "We're almost there," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Make it happen," Marcus replied, his gaze never leaving the holographic map. "We need that weapon now." And then, in an instant, the Zarak flagship went dark. An explosion of light erupted across the screen as the flagship was obliterated by a series of well-placed shots from Earth's remaining warships. The massive alien vessel crumbled like a paper ship caught in a storm. At that moment, the entire battlefield seemed to shift. With their command ship destroyed, the Zarak fleet began to falter. The once coordinated enemy forces now struggled to regroup. Earth's fighters, emboldened by the victory, pressed forward, relentless in their pursuit. And just as the aliens attempted to regroup, the final piece of Earth's strategy fell into place. The energy weapon, fully charged, hummed with power. "Now," Dr. Pierce shouted. The weapon fired, and the beam shot across the sky, ripping through the remaining alien fleets. It was more powerful than anyone had dared to hope, reducing entire ships to glowing dust. The alien forces were decimated, their ships scattering in every direction as Earth's fleets pressed forward, following their victory with overwhelming force. As the alien fleets fled, the Galactic Council was left in chaos. The Zarak had lost their flagship, the Ferrix were scattered, and the Vathiri were retreating into deep space, their once unstoppable forces shattered. Earth had achieved the impossible, again. But even in victory, there was a sense of unease. Humanity had won this battle, But the war was far from over. The Galactic Council would not let this defeat stand. The coming days would be crucial, as the alien forces began to regroup and plot their next move. The question now wasn't whether humanity could survive. The real question was how far they would go to ensure their place in the galaxy, and whether the Galactic Council would ever learn the true cost of underestimating humanity. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. As the remnants of the alien fleets retreated into the depths of space, the skies above Earth cleared, revealing the sheer scale of destruction left in their wake. The once bustling cities were now surrounded by wreckage, and Earth's defense forces had taken heavy losses. General Marcus stood on the balcony of the command center, staring out at the distant horizon, where the sun cast an orange glow over the ruined landscape. Victory had come at a heavy price. The alien forces were reeling, but humanity was far from unscathed. The battle had drained every resource they had, and Earth's war machine was left limping. The once unshakable confidence that had driven humanity's resistance was now mixed with uncertainty. The next phase of the conflict would be even more treacherous, and every decision made in the coming days would determine whether Earth could survive or if the Galactic Council would return to finish what they had started. "We may have won the battle, but we've just made ourselves a target," General Marcus said, his voice laced with concern as he turned to Dr. Pierce, who had joined him in the command center. Dr. Pierce nodded gravely. "The Galactic Council won't take this lightly. They'll be furious, and they'll come back stronger. We've seen how quickly they adapt." Her words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of their truth. The Galactic Council, though shaken, was not defeated. The council members were ruthless, and the alien species that made up its ranks were driven by an unyielding desire to dominate. Humanity had proven itself a worthy opponent, but that only made them a greater threat in the eyes of the council. "We need to prepare for the next wave," Marcus said, a resolve forming in his chest. "We can't afford to wait for them to strike first." Across the globe, humanity was beginning to understand the true cost of war. Earth had seen the courage of its soldiers, the ingenuity of its scientists, and the unwavering spirit of its people, but that was not enough to ensure long-term survival. The alien forces would return, and Earth would have to be ready to meet them head-on. Dr. Pierce had been working around the clock to analyze the data from the weapon that had helped turn the tide of the battle. The device had been crucial in destroying the Xerox flagship, but it was not without its flaws. The power source that fueled it was unstable, and a single misstep could lead to catastrophic consequences. Despite these risks, the weapon had proven its worth, and Earth's leaders had already begun discussing its potential for future use. "General, we've run some simulations," Dr. Pierce said, interrupting his thoughts. "If we can stabilize the weapon's energy core, it could be our key to holding off the Galactic Council for good. But we'll need time, and we'll need resources. I'm not sure how much longer we can keep this up with the fleet in its current condition." Marcus' mind raced. The alien forces were regrouping, and the Galactic Council would send reinforcements soon. The power of their fleets, combined with their advanced technology, made them a nearly unstoppable force. But humanity had something the Council didn't: the will to fight for survival, no matter the cost. "We'll find a way," Marcus said, his voice firm. "We have no choice but to keep pushing forward." While the military leaders met in the command center, back on Earth's streets, the people were also beginning to realize the gravity of the situation. The victory against the aliens had brought a fleeting sense of hope, but now the true battle for survival was beginning. Governments were scrambling to rebuild, sending messages of unity and determination to their citizens. Earth's economy, though shaken by the war, was showing signs of recovery, with people coming together to rebuild their homes and communities. But there was another battle being fought, one that could be even more dangerous than the war itself: the battle for the hearts and minds of the people. Earth had lost many lives during the first wave of attacks, and the scars of war were deep. Families had been torn apart, and the psychological toll on the survivors was immeasurable. To keep the hope alive, Earth's leaders had to unite the people, ensuring that their will to fight remained unbroken. As the days passed, Marcus and his team worked tirelessly, preparing for the inevitable return of the Galactic Council's wrath. Earth's resistance was their best chance of survival, but they would need more than just weapons. They needed to foster an unshakable belief that humanity could triumph over any foe. On the front lines, the soldiers who had survived the last battle found themselves with a newfound purpose. They had witnessed the devastation the aliens had caused and had felt the weight of their comrades' deaths, but they also knew that their fight was far from over. Every time they thought they had reached their limit, humanity found a way to go beyond it. They would not give up, not when their survival depended on it. Dr. Pierce continued her work, her face lit by the soft glow of the screens in her lab. The weapon that had saved Earth in the previous battle was now being modified, improved. There was no time to waste. Earth had gained some breathing room, but it was clear that the aliens would return, and when they did, they would be even more determined to destroy humanity once and for all. But humanity's will to survive was stronger than ever. The Galactic Council had made one fatal mistake. They had underestimated humanity's resilience, and they had underestimated the power of hope. The countdown had begun. Earth would either fall or it would rise. And no matter what happened, humanity would face its fate head-on. The tension in the command center was palpable. General Marcus paced back and forth, his mind racing as he examined the information coming in. The Galactic Council's forces were regrouping, and all signs pointed to a swift and devastating retaliation. Even with the remnants of the alien fleet scattered and fleeing, the Council had vast resources and would stop at nothing to crush humanity's newfound hope. "We don't have much time," Marcus muttered to himself, staring at the holographic map of the galaxy. The alien ships were still retreating, but their course suggested that they weren't fleeing in fear. They were preparing for something much worse. They were calling in reinforcements, and this time, they would come in full force. Dr. Pierce, her eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights, sat at her station in the far corner of the room, her fingers flying across the keys of her console. She had been working relentlessly to stabilize the new weapon Earth had been forced to rely on. The weapon, though powerful, was still far too unstable for regular use. If they could not find a way to safely deploy it without catastrophic consequences, humanity's hopes of survival would crumble. "We're getting reports from all over Earth," she said, her voice strained. "The people are beginning to panic. The last battle gave them hope, but now they fear the worst. If the Galactic Council strikes again, we might not be able to protect them this time." Marcus turned toward her, his face drawn with concern. He had always been a soldier, trained for war, not for handling fear and uncertainty. But now, as the weight of his command pressed on his shoulders, he understood the true meaning of leadership. It wasn't just about fighting battles. It was about keeping the people united, hopeful, and determined. "Dr. Pierce, what can we do?" Marcus asked. "We're running out of options." Pierce sighed heavily, rubbing her temples. "We need to stabilize the energy core of the weapon. But the energy fluctuations are getting worse. The calculations I've been working on show that if we don't get this right, it could cause a chain reaction that will destroy more than just the Council's fleet. We could lose everything: our cities, our people, the entire planet." Marcus' mind flashed back to the carnage of the previous battle. The countless lives lost, the devastation across Earth's once thriving cities. To lose everything now, after coming so far, was unthinkable. But what choice did they have? "We don't have the luxury of waiting," Marcus said grimly. "We need to deploy the weapon. We don't know when the Council will strike again, but we do know that when they do, it will be all-out war. We need to make sure that Earth is ready to fight back." Dr. Pierce nodded, her face set with grim determination. "I agree, but we'll need all hands on deck. I'll continue working on stabilizing the core, but we'll need more than just this weapon. We need to fortify Earth's defenses, rebuild the fleet, and prepare the people. I know it's asking a lot, but we don't have a choice." Marcus took a deep breath, mentally preparing himself for what was to come. He had always prided himself on being a strategist, on being able to see the bigger picture, but even he couldn't predict what was about to unfold. Humanity was standing on the edge of annihilation, with no clear way to stop the oncoming storm. "All right," Marcus said, his voice steady despite the uncertainty swirling around him. "Let's get to work. We can't afford to lose time." Meanwhile, across Earth, the mood was shifting. The initial shock of the alien invasion had subsided, but a new sense of fear was taking hold. Humanity had proven its resilience, but the next battle would be even more brutal. The Galactic Council had seen Earth's strength, and now it was determined to crush it once and for all. The people, once united in their fight against the invaders, were now divided. Some had faith in the leadership of the military, in the scientists working to turn the tide of the war, but others were beginning to question whether they could survive the Council's wrath. The war had taken so much from them already. Could they truly endure another onslaught? As Marcus and Dr. Pierce worked tirelessly to prepare for the next wave, a small group of Earth's leaders gathered in secret. The tension among them was undeniable. They were debating the harsh truth. Could humanity continue to fight this battle? Could Earth stand against the might of the Galactic Council? "We have to prepare for the worst," one of the leaders said, his voice trembling. "If the Council returns and we're not ready, we'll fall. We'll all fall." Another leader, a woman known for her strategic mind, leaned forward. "But we can't afford to act rashly. We need to be cautious, calculated. The weapon, if it's ready, could give us an edge, but we need more. We need the people to believe that we can win." Her words were a reminder of the struggle Earth now faced, not just against the alien invaders, but against their own doubts and fears. The Council might have underestimated humanity's will to survive, but now, humanity would have to prove it again. The challenge was greater than ever before, and the stakes were higher than anyone could have imagined. As the leaders continued their heated discussions, Marcus' mind remained focused on the task at hand. The weapon was their last hope, but it could also be their doom if they didn't get it right. He had seen firsthand what was at stake. If Earth's leaders didn't find a way to unite the people, to convince them that victory was still possible, then even the most powerful weapon on Earth would be useless. The first wave of alien forces had failed, but it was clear. The war was not over. Earth had won the battle, but the war for survival was far from finished. Every day that passed brought Earth closer to the next conflict. Humanity's strength would be tested to its limits, and as the Galactic Council regrouped and prepared for another assault, Earth would have to find a way to fight back, one last time. The storm was coming, and humanity had no choice but to face it. As the days passed, the clock was ticking. Every moment brought humanity closer to the inevitable showdown with the Galactic Council. Earth had no more time to waste, no more time to wonder if they were ready. The final stand was coming, and there was only one thing left to do: fight. General Marcus and Dr. Pierce stood together in the newly constructed command center, watching the fleet's movements on the holographic map. Their forces were in place, but Earth's military, though stronger than before, still faced an overwhelming enemy. The Galactic Council's reinforcements had arrived, and they were massive. Armadas of ships, each more powerful than any Earth had ever faced. "We don't have the numbers," Marcus said, his voice grim. "But we have something they don't." Dr. Pierce looked up at him, her expression determined. "We have the will to fight." The truth of those words weighed heavily on both of them. Humanity's strength wasn't in its weapons, its technology, or its fleets. It was in the hearts of every person on Earth. It was in the belief that they could survive, that they could overcome, no matter the odds. This was a fight for their future, for the survival of everything they knew and loved. As Marcus turned to leave the command center, his heart heavy with the weight of command, he knew what he had to do. It wasn't just the military's job to fight. It was the entire planet's. Earth needed to unite now more than ever, and he had to ensure the people knew the stakes. Meanwhile, across the planet, the fear was palpable. People from all walks of life were preparing for the worst. Some were helping to fortify cities, others were working tirelessly in underground bunkers, and still others were being trained in combat to defend their homes. The world had come together in a way it never had before. But even with all the preparation, the uncertainty remained. Could humanity really stand against the Galactic Council? Or would this be the final chapter in their history? In every corner of Earth, the same question echoed: will we survive? The Galactic Council had underestimated humanity once, and it had cost them dearly. But this time, they were coming with everything they had. The fleet that gathered in the skies above Earth was a terrifying sight. Hundreds of ships, all prepared to rain down destruction on a planet they once thought of as insignificant. But the people of Earth were not ready to surrender. They had fought for their freedom once, and they would do it again. As the first wave of enemy ships entered Earth's atmosphere, the air was thick with tension. Every person, every soldier, every civilian, felt the weight of the moment. This wasn't just a battle, it was a declaration of humanity's right to exist. Earth would fight with everything it had, or it would fall trying. Marcus and Dr. Pierce stood side by side as the skies above Earth darkened with the shadows of alien ships. The weapon was ready, and their fleet had been armed with the latest technology Earth could muster. The plan was simple: hit hard, hit fast, and hold nothing back. But there was one variable they couldn't control: the will of the people. "We'll make it through this," Marcus said quietly, his eyes fixed on the incoming enemy fleet. "I believe in them." Dr. Pierce nodded, her gaze never leaving the battlefield unfolding in front of her. "So do I. This is humanity's moment. We fought for so long. We're not going to give up now." The first blast rang out, shattering the silence of space. Earth's defenses lit up as the enemy unleashed their barrage, and for a moment, everything seemed to hang in the balance. The impact of the blasts was deafening, but Earth's defenses held. Humanity's weapon was in action, and it was unlike anything the Council had ever faced. Might of the Galactic Council, Earth had emerged victorious. The people who had been underestimated and written off were now the ones standing tall, their triumph echoing through the galaxy. As the smoke cleared and the remnants of the Galactic Council's fleet drifted into space, the people of Earth looked up at the skies with pride. They had faced extinction, and they had overcome it. But as the dust settled, the world knew one thing for sure: They had earned their place in the galaxy. Humanity was no longer just a fledgling species. It was a force to be reckoned with. The story of Earth's resistance would be told for generations to come. It was a story of defiance, of resilience, of a people who refused to be conquered. And the galaxy would never forget the lesson it had learned. Never underestimate humanity. The alien ships faltered as Earth's fleet swarmed in, taking advantage of the chaos. For the first time in the entire war, the Galactic Council's forces were on the defensive. Earth's will to survive, its ingenuity, and its sheer determination were proving to be a formidable weapon. "We're winning," Dr. Pierce whispered, almost in disbelief. "We're actually doing it." Marcus couldn't help but smile, even in the chaos. "We're not done yet. Stay focused. We can't stop now." As the battle raged on, humanity's fleet pushed forward, breaking through enemy lines, one ship at a time. It was a grueling fight, with every second a test of endurance and resolve. But the tide had turned. The Galactic Council's ships, once so confident in their superiority, were now retreating, their command ships signaling for an emergency withdrawal. In the end, it was clear. Humanity had won. Against all odds. Against the overwhelming